Well, tell me, mama, what's going on? Tell me, darling, what's going on?
Welcome back, everybody. Bacon and Egg Show, episode number 39, January 31st, 2021. Jay, what is going on?
What's up, man? Just hanging out. Trying to figure out why Deshaun Watson's still in Houston, but Matthew Stafford can get out of Detroit. It's like somebody's getting out of football hell and another person is staying in it. So, but now, man, it's been a beautiful couple of days. Just been hanging out and enjoying that. How are you? What's going on?
Oh man, yeah, enjoying this nice weather we've been having. It's kind of that false spring yesterday. It was nice and warm, and then it's like you know that there's some kind of front, something nasty coming around the corner, I guess. But hey, enjoy it the days we have it. But
yeah, man.
Well, yeah, you mentioned the quarterback thing. You want to start there today? Yeah, let's dig right into this.
Sure.
You know, as we've talked about for quite a while now, the dumpster fire on Kirby, that is the Houston Texans, the Houston Easter Boys, and they what was that? I guess it came down officially this week, right? Since our last show, that Deshaun Watson had submitted an official trade request to get the hell out of town.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. But last night there was some news that came down in the quarterback carousel world. Matt Stafford from the Detroit Lions traded to the Los Angeles Rams, and in return, the Lions get quarterback Jared Goff, a third-round pick in this year's draft, 2021, and then a first-round pick in 22 and a first-round pick in 23. This kind of sets the quarterback market for this offseason, right? This is the pace setter. Before we get into the Watson stuff and how that affects the price, what do you think of this trade off its face? Just snap judgment on what both teams are getting here.
It's hard to because on the face for me, I feel like the Rams overpaid. But again, right now with what you see, some of these, like Laramie Tunsil, 2 first-round picks. Jalen Ramsey was 2 first-round picks. And so these with the quarterback, when the trade market for that type of a player has already been set, it doesn't matter what position. And now you're talking trading quarterbacks. This is what it's going to cost to move a quarterback of that caliber, or to acquire a quarterback of that caliber in any trade market now, because that's just what the NFL is now. It's costing 2 first-round picks to acquire stars now. So whether or not you consider Matt Stafford a star, I think that's what the debate could be right now, in terms of what the Rams are getting back. Like, they're obviously close as a team and as a franchise to achieving big things, even with the quarterback that they were very eager to ship out of town, and Jared Goff. They've made it to a Super Bowl. They've made it 2 rounds into the playoffs this year. Like, this is not a team that's that far away, and they obviously feel like Matt Stafford is the one that can get them over the hump.
Yeah. I think Stafford is an upgrade.
Yes.
Over Goff. How big of an upgrade, I think, could just be debated on and on and on until we actually see how Matt Stafford looks playing for a team that is not the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
The first, my kind of snap judgment was that they overpaid, but then the more that I look at this, the more I think about it, it makes, I don't know, Detroit's taken on a big contract with Goff, and we kind of discussed this before the show. Like, you don't fault Jared Goff for taking that big contract that the Rams gave him. That's not on him.
No.
I mean, it kind of reminds me like the Brock Osweiler thing. It's like, everybody was mad at him over the contract deal. It's like, well, are you going to say no to that? But that's
right.
So they were going to the Rams are going to have to pay a little bit to have Detroit take that take that money on. And I really believe that Detroit feels that Goff is not going to be the quarterback that gets them over the hump. We have an unhappy quarterback that's served us well. We're going to, do something to take care of him during a rebuild mode, take on a bunch of salary, but let's get some draft capital for it. I don't think the first round picks are that crazy here, given that. And they're not going to be. The Rams have been pretty consistent the last few years. I mean, like you mentioned, they were in the Super Bowl a couple seasons ago. These 22 and 23 picks, I don't think are going to be top 10 draft picks. This is not, and this is different than some of the other teams that we've been hearing that are potentially getting involved in this quarterback arms race with like top 5 picks this year. First round picks coming from bad teams that are going to be bad teams that you're going to be picking in the top 10 or the top 5. That's not going to be the Rams. They're going to be mid to late first round type draft picks, with those first round picks at least.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know if they actually overpaid for it, given those kind of factors of like getting a bad salary off the books and getting a guy that they feel is an upgrade that can help them get over the hump and win in the next season or two. So
I think my assessment of that trade is more of how I feel about Matthew Stafford as like a franchise quarterback, not
right.
necessarily that, like I'm with you. I you're right about in terms of those being later first round picks, or probably, most likely will be later first round picks. I don't view Matthew Stafford as the guy. Like I know he's always accumulated lots of stats, put up lots of big numbers. I feel like a lot of them were he put up a lot of garbage time stats. And I think there's something to be said for, I know it's Detroit. I know it's this wasteland of talent that is the Detroit Lions franchise, but there has to be some of that put on Matthew Stafford as well. Like that he wasn't able to be the guy to lead them through that and overcome some of those obstacles that maybe have been put in front of them by a franchise, by an organization. So I don't know. I think that's just, I'm not like, does Sean McVay look at Matt Stafford as a guy like, oh man, I'm not going to have to be in his headset until the last possible second, telling him what this defense is doing and what they might do. And he goes, maybe Sean McVay is thinking, okay, I'm going to be able to call a play and say, hey, remember this. And then I'm going to be able to shut up and let a veteran quarterback assess a defense and get after it. And I'm going to put him into a position to be successful. I mean, when you're looking at it from that perspective, if that's the way it goes, then obviously the Rams win in this situation. I'm just not sold on the fact of Matthew Stafford being that guy.
No, I'm not really either. And you talk with Stafford and Goff, you talk about two guys that were both number 1 overall picks.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't feel either have, definitely not Goff. I mean, I guess there might have been points in Stafford's career where you kind of said, oh yeah, the guy looks the part. He's living up to the like number 1 overall draft pick, kind of status. But it's going to be interesting because, like we mentioned before, this kind of sets the quarterback market. Philly might be looking to get rid of Carson Wentz, another high draft pick that hasn't quite lived up to potential, like Jared Goff. Where's he going to go? There are rumors swirling about Aaron Rodgers being done in Green Bay. How's that going to go? Obviously, New Orleans, it's not official yet, but like Drew Brees, I don't think is coming back. So what is New Orleans going to want to do at quarterback? And we can go on and on and on about the teams that are like looking to either upgrade or, swap quarterbacks kind of thing. Phillip Rivers retired. You mentioned that earlier.
Retiring. Yeah.
So let's connect all these dots with the Deshaun Watson situation. And before getting into like whether or not this is likely, given what this price has kind of been set at, what do you think it would take, you know, with a reasonable general manager and like some, like let's say like an independent, a third party decision maker that goes, this is a fair deal for Deshaun Watson working on behalf of Houston. What would it be? What would it be a fair deal given what we know now about the Stafford and Goff deal for Deshaun Watson?
I don't know. It would be more than, I think it would be a lot more picks than what Matthew Stafford is worth. Deshaun Watson is, it's so crazy because if he's even put on the market, because we don't even know like that Houston is going to, like, I know people have been calling about Deshaun Watson, but there's been no indication from anybody in that organization that they're going to move him. So that's, to me, that's the first thing to have to sort of get through there is he even going to be moved? But if he is, it's sort of that, like, if Matthew Stafford is worth a third and 2 firsts and a third, Deshaun Watson to me is worth 4 firsts. I mean, this is like, we're talking a historic haul here for probably the greatest quarterback, if he is put on the market, at his point in his career with his talent and his ceiling, like the most talented quarterback to ever be put on the open market
Right.
for a trade. Like that's the type of talent we're talking about here with Deshaun Watson. So I don't. It's will somebody be willing to give something like that up? And even if they are the Texans willing to part ways with him? Like, will it get to the point, because he's deleted all references of the Texans from his Instagram? Like, he's gone through all of these steps, like deliberately, the sort of the posting the lyrics, the vague lyric,
Yeah.
the lyrics and things like that, like
Yeah.
going that route. Like, and it just seems to me like, and they could just keep him on and fine him, and it could cost him tens of millions of dollars by the end of the season if he just decides he doesn't want to play. That's the route Houston could go, if they want to. And at this rate, when you look at the way that the franchise has been run recently, it's like I could see them just totally burning it down and not caring. But Kerry, I don't know that the amount of draft picks that they could receive for Deshaun Watson that would actually be of value is even feasible for the Texans to achieve in a trade. And you often hear that, like, you can't get, you're never going to get value for a superstar in a trade. I think it's especially the case for Deshaun Watson in this instance.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think he gets moved. I just, I think it's just untenable at this point. I, I don't know how the relationship gets repaired, and it's, for the front office's sake, you know, you talk about having an entire team that probably sides with Deshaun Watson at this point, and like just having negative that negativity in the locker room. I just don't. I think he's going to get moved now. Whether that happens before the season, during the season, after he says he's not playing or whatever, I think he's going to get moved. But on the first round pick, or on what it would take to get him if you were another team, I do think that there is something to, like, all first round picks aren't created equal.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of talked about those picks for the Rams going to Detroit, like how those are probably going to be mid to late first round picks, because the Rams are a pretty good franchise. They've been a good team these last few years, and now they have Stafford. So, like, they're going to be a contender. And none of those first round picks that are going to Detroit are in this year's draft. And I feel like that's where the Deshaun Watson thing gets a little, different, because we talk about the teams that have been mentioned, Jacksonville, who, is going to be picking at the top of the draft. The fact that Jacksonville can go, we'll give you the number 1 overall pick, and 2 more first round picks, because it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going to be high first round picks, kind of thing. To me, that's a better, like, because basically Houston can go right now, like, okay, well, because now we can draft our quarterback of the future to immediately step in to replace Deshaun Watson now and Trevor Lawrence. Get it done. And I think that carries a bit more weight. There's not going to be a kind of like salary offloading that's going to happen coming from another team, like with the Goff situation. I think they're going to reach some kind of agreement. And is it going to be a fair one? I don't know, but I think something like 3 firsts, and depending on who the team is, maybe a player coming back that way. Do the Texans view Tua from Miami as what kind of draft pick rating do they put on him? What is he worth? So, all that being said, do you trust the Houston brain trust to get as much value as they possibly can? Or are they going to run this thing down to the clock and just go, well, we screwed this up and this guy wants out. We guess we have to do something now. And like they get a first and 2 second rounders or something from the Patriots, and like, Hoyer.
Air
Hoyer makes his glorious return back to Houston. So like, I think they're going to screw it up. And I think, Texans fans are going to be upset about it because they're going to screw it up like they have with other trades and everything that's happened. I know it's a different, Casario's there now. It's a different kind of thing, but like,
that's what I was going to say, is that you would think, or you would hope, that him being there would be like a voice of reason, like, because they wanted the guy before and then they were tampering. I mean, they were I mean, they were
couldn't even cheat right, man.
They couldn't even cheat right. Like, they're trying to be the Patriots and they can't even cheat right. But they but I mean, they wanted this guy for a while. He was highly sought after, and they got their guy. So maybe he's somebody that could be a voice of reason for them. But I don't know, man. Like, I don't know that if you're Jacksonville, I just don't know why you have Trevor Lawrence, who I don't know why you would trade for Deshaun Watson when you have the guy there that, if you're a head coach and you're coming in and starting a franchise from day one and you get the first pick of the draft coming in to start in your Urban, why wouldn't you take Trevor Lawrence there? Like that.
Well,
I don't know, man. Like, that to me is, I'm not giving up what it's going to take to get Deshaun Watson, especially if I'm already going to get to take my franchise quarterback, and then I'm going to be able to take a few and build around him for years to come in the draft. Like, I'm not doing that if I'm Jacksonville. I'm just not. I don't think that I'm doing that.
Well, my counter argument to that, I guess, would be you already have one that's a proven NFL quarterback. Like, Deshaun Watson's proven it, and he's still young. And as good as Trevor Lawrence has been, and as good as he's projected to be, and all those things, he still hasn't done it. He still has not played it down in the NFL. So for me, it's one of those things where, if Jacksonville really is trying to go all in, which they seem to be with hiring Urban Meyer, doing all this, like, do you go with the really sure thing at quarterback that's already been proven? Or are you taking a chance with a rookie that might take 3 years to really reach his full potential or so? So, and they have a ton of cap space and draft capital and all those things. And Jacksonville instantly hurts and damages a division rival. So that would be kind of my counter argument to go, essentially giving up the number 1 pick and future picks to get a Pro Bowl top 5 quarterback in the NFL instantly.
But when you bring up the divisional thing, like, that to me is another thing. Like, are you trading Deshaun Watson within the division? Like, because that would be the ultimate Texans thing to do, for him to not only trade him, but then to trade him to somebody that you're going to have to see him twice a year for the rest of his career. Like, that would be the ultimate Houston Texans thing to do. I don't know, man. Like,
I can just hear that question now at the press conference. Like, I can just hear that. I can hear it being asked like, so why did you can you justify trading a Pro Bowl, All Pro, potential future Hall of Fame quarterback to a division rival? And I could just hear like Cal McNair or Easterby or somebody, that's going to be the mouthpiece sitting there going, well, we more view the Kansas City Chiefs and New England Patriots as our rivals in the AFC. We don't, I mean, Jacksonville, they're not our peer.
Yeah. It's like they're running it's a gimmick. It's like I feel like I'm watching WWE programming, which by the way, Royal Rumble is today. Which was the last Kerry, that was a year ago, to go off on a completely out there tangent. That was a year ago. It was the 26th of January that I was at Minute Maid Park with 42,000 other people watching the Royal Rumble, people that come from all over the world to travel for that event. And that was a year ago. And here we are talking, and we haven't hit our pandemic weekly segment yet, but we will later on when we talk Runnin Horns, because it's affected that team. But yeah, man, it's just crazy to think about that. It was just a year ago that it was 42,000 people, and now you can't go with 42, much less 42,000. Sorry, I was
No, that's a great. That's actually
that,
that actually is a really good segue. Did you have any other thoughts on the Deshaun Watson thing?
No, I just don't. I don't know, man. I feel like there's a bigger chance of him not being traded than a lot of people are giving them. Like, I don't think there's this non-zero chance that he doesn't get traded. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there is a possibility that he sticks around.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But no, I just don't see a scenario where it's just going to take so much. And maybe, and when you look at Deshaun Watson, maybe somebody does hop in because he is this generational. I think he is like you said, a top 5 quarterback in the league, and with the ceiling of more than that. Like, the guy's a winner, and he's found a way to the guy balled out last year on a bad team. He had no reason to play as well as he did last year. And and just for everything else that was around him that couldn't all come together, like the Texans, you just saw it all come all crumbling down around him. But he still played so well despite all of that. It's like nobody's questioning Deshaun Watson as a quarterback, despite the Texans losing as many games as they did. Like, it's not like, oh well, got to put some of that on him. And it's like, no, like, he still played really well, and they just couldn't win ball games. So I don't know, man. This would be if it does go down, it'll be the biggest trade. Like I said, the highest, the biggest talented name to be moved at quarterback, to be moved on the open market for something like this. It's going to be wild.
We've never seen anything like this.
No.
And that's where it really is uncharted territory in terms of, like, there's not a real point of reference to say, like, oh, well, when this guy was traded, this was this is what they got in return. Because there's never been, like, not at this level, like, not at, I don't even know like, what would Patrick Mahomes get on in a trade market right now?
Right. Yeah.
And I know that sounds crazy to say, but, like, you look at the numbers and all those things, like, they're pretty close. Like, Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes, their performance, like, statistical, is pretty close.
Yeah.
One just plays for a good franchise. That's the fortune of getting drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs and playing for Andy Reid.
Right. Yeah.
But, like, you think about what that would get if someone was like, okay, hey, Patrick Mahomes is on the trade market. Let's hear your offers. And Watson's right up there. Just like with Russell Wilson and Josh Allen and these other guys. Like, it's who were all, either playing for the conference championships or getting close to, playing for them. But It's going to be interesting to see. It's fascinating because we really have never seen anything like this before in the
Yeah,
NFL.
it's great. It's great theater. It really is.
Yeah, it is. It's I can't wait. I'm looking forward to the clown car pulling up outside the stadium and Cal McNair and Easterby and Casario jumping out and we have a trade to announce.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's just if it's the franchise in itself is it's a parody of itself. Like it's that. Anyways.
Oh, yeah, we could go on all day about that. That's it.
Yeah.
But we're not doing a comedy show here, so
No.
let's
Yeah, no. My wife would definitely tell me we're not doing a comedy show. But
well, let's speaking of comedy, let's get into Pandemic Weekly here and
oh, man.
uh have have the Runnin Horns, the Texas Longhorn basketball team, played a game in the last few weeks? I think they kind of did last
Yeah.
week.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Well, I mean, how many
I
players?
mean,
Well, Shaka Smart was out with a positive COVID test, so he wasn't
you're right.
he wasn't with the team on the bench. Uh, three starters, essentially three starters,
Yeah.
three players that get a lot of minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Two starters and then, the junkyard dog that is Brock Cunningham, who comes off the bench and does play a very, very important role. He was missing too. So you got you're down to 8 scholarship players. And Jay Severus is not himself yet.
No.
Even though he played like 23, 24 minutes, he only had 3 points in that game. Like it's obvious that he's not himself yet. But Kerry, you watched that game, and Texas really didn't have with that short of a bench, and missing those many key players. It was a 1-point game, man. It was 80-79 was the final, and they were in it until the end, and had a full court heave at the end to try to set something up to get to get a last second shot, man. So, what was your takeaway from that game? Which is
Oklahoma's been playing really well too.
They have been, and they're a top 20 team, obviously now at this point, I believe. So, like you look at it, and it's. That was the first game that they played since January 16th, and it will be the only game that they play until next Tuesday against Baylor, and we'll hit on that in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, for that to be the first game in 10 days, you're playing shorthanded, Kerry. I mean, what was your takeaway?
Yeah, and so to play shorthanded, not just with players, but like we mentioned, Shaka Smart not being there. So your head coach is out, 3 players that get a lot of minutes are out, and a really hot Oklahoma team comes rolling into town looking to build some momentum. All that being said, it was a 1-point game. And I think, we were texting, with Mike and everything, our Longhorn insider, like a 1-point loss to OU in basketball, like that usually feels it's not a positive, it's not a positive sports experience.
It's not a PSE, right?
But we came out of that, given all those factors, like the layoff, COVID situation, a good Oklahoma team coming into town. Like I speaking for myself, I think I have the sense that we all kind of came out of that game afterwards, like we're fine.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, it was a
100%.
loss. You hate to lose to Oklahoma, but like,
man.
Almost stole that game. Like really was a couple things go here and there. Texas wins that game. And what was it? Oklahoma destroyed, what was it, Alabama yesterday, a top 10 team.
Yeah, Big 12
OU's got a
really
good squad
in the Big 12 SEC Challenge. Yeah, that was an impressive, and KT Turner, give him some credit, who filled in as acting head coach for Shaka, and Turner will be a guy down the road that will get his own head coaching job. There's no doubt about that. But it was just an impressive showing by basically 7 guys. Like I know
The foul
Trevor's
trouble
play.
got like,
Man, it just piling up, and you're looking. It's like, okay, he has 4 fouls. He has 4 fouls. He has 4 fouls, and then you having this play. You know, I don't think Febres probably should have played 24 minutes in that game, but he did. He had to. Donovan Williams was the guy that stepped up, had a career high 11 points in 20 minutes, like because he had to. Like
right.
there was no other option. He had to step up. And he did, and so many other guys did too. It was just, you know, Andrew Jones playing 38 minutes. I mean, this is the type of guy that it's not just a good story anymore. Like this is
Yep.
the type of talent that people saw in him coming out of high school, and he's reaching that he's reaching that ceiling that people thought that he could have. He's almost there. I feel like he's playing like an all-conference player right now for this team. And I mean, you know, there's just up and down the roster you look at it, and Hepa didn't have a great game in terms statistically. But again, it's like every night somebody else is stepping up, and on a night where they needed multiple people to step up, they did, and they almost pulled it off, man. And it speaks to where this program is right now with Shaka Smart. It's at a point where you can look at it and say, okay, we're where we need to be we're going to be in a new position later on in the early spring to play for something really special. And it was amazing to watch. The most fun I've had watching Texas basketball lose in a long time.
Yeah.
Really.
And that's what, you know, you talk about the players that missed that game. You just throw Cunningham in there and that's a Texas win. That's it.
Yeah, alone. Cunningham by himself. Not even exactly.
That would have been enough to make up the difference on the defensive side of the ball, and just the way that game went down, you know. And that's the thing we've talked about, whether it's with this, you know, with the Texas football program and this basketball program preseason, all these things about like the eye test. And that's what, if you didn't watch the game, you come away from that going like, oh, you know, you hate losing to Oklahoma. This is a home loss. This is a team, you know, Oklahoma has just gotten back into the top 25, and this is a top 5 Texas team. You can't lose these kind of games, you know. But if you watch the game and take all those factors into consideration, you go like, okay, you know, this was, I struggle. I don't want to call it like hey, you referring to like a blessing in disguise kind of thing or something like that. But you talk about getting those guys off the bench and getting some legit minutes against a really good team.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to do nothing but pay off as this team hopefully gets past the COVID issues. The games are being, you know, able to be played as scheduled. Getting those kind of key minutes for guys further down the bench, not just key minutes in big spots, but long times on the court, actual legit playing time against a good team. Those are going to pay off when these guys are going to need to be relied upon later on. And because, I mean, like we've said, this is going to be something you get into the tournament, something like that. A key player is going to get in foul trouble early on. You're going to need to rely on guys coming off the bench, and this kind of experience is only going to be beneficial. So, yeah, of course you hate to lose, especially to that school, but like,
right,
there was a lot of positives to take away from it. Tuesday's the big test. I mean, this team was supposed to play against Kentucky yesterday.
Yeah, man, that's disappointing that was canceled on Kentucky's side due to contact tracing and positive tests. That would have been a great test, you know, because I know Kentucky doesn't have the record that they might have in normal, but it's still Kentucky, and they're a very good defensive team for sure. It would have been a great test for Texas to go up against a Kentucky team that, you know, that's still very talented, even though they don't have the record. But yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I was just really disappointed that matchup didn't happen, because that's a game that you really look forward to seeing, that, you know, that playing against a Kentucky, no matter what the record is, it's still something that you like to do as a fan, I guess, is to see those sort of matchups. But
yeah, and that's one of those things, like you talk about resumes at the end of the season, and it doesn't matter what Kentucky's record is and what what kind of season they're having. When you start breaking down these tournament resumes, that's one of those things that pops off the page. It's
Mhm.
well, Texas went to Kentucky and won by 8.
Yep.
That's quality. That's a quality win. And although, I mean, I guess if you look at it like if I'm trying to take a positive sports experience out of the Kentucky game cancellation, it's that this gives this team the opportunity to get some of those guys that missed the Oklahoma game cleared and back on the court. It gets Shaka Smart an opportunity to get cleared and back on the bench
Yeah.
for this Baylor game, because in the grand scheme of things, I'd rather have a team that's rested and fully, replenished as much as it can against Baylor than forcing a trip to Kentucky and potentially, because of contact tracing and all those kinds of things, depleting the squad even further. I know we won't know now, but like I'd rather have
Yeah.
a full team rested and ready to go against Baylor.
And they're going to need it because those 3 guards
Right.
over there with Butler, Mitchell, and Teague. Like, I mean, this is going to be. I hope this happens, and I hope it's both teams at full speed at you know what I mean, at full capacity with their rosters, because this is the matchup that, in terms of the Big 12, Baylor's a great team. They are super
Yeah.
talented. They're tough to slow down, even when, and they're really good. So this is a matchup that even if it's another one that you could come out of if the game was played well and it didn't seem like he gave it away at the end or whatever. Where this is another one of those. The Big 12 is a tough conference, and this is your toughest test in one of the toughest conferences in the country, at least. So I hope this happens. I hope both teams are at full speed, full go, or whatever. And yeah, man, let's hope for that.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. I don't think we have it yet. I was trying to see if we've got an early point spread on that game. I don't think we do.
Probably not.
Baylor's just been crushing opposition. I mean, just looking at their recent games. The thing is, we've kind of talked about how tough the Big 12 is and where there's going to be losses on this schedule.
Yeah.
There's so many good teams. This isn't a, we'll see how this game goes Tuesday. This isn't a like front of my mind type concern. But if Texas loses this game against Baylor, we're looking at a situation where Texas at this point has lost 3 of 4. And I know that with the the TCU and Iowa State games and Kentucky in there being postponed and canceled in the Kentucky games case, there would have been some wins in there. Is there any kind of creeping concern about a team that, if loses to Baylor, it has lost 3 out of 4 at that point?
No, I don't. It doesn't. And again, when we talk about the eye test a lot on this show, and I think that matters. And when you're playing in a tough conference and you don't, with how this has gone with the schedule, you can't help your schedule. You can't help the way that things have bounced with games that are being canceled. The fact that they might run up against the Texas Tech and then shorthanded lose to an Oklahoma team,
Right.
and then you go to Baylor, who's a top 2. You could make an argument for Baylor being the best team in the country.
You really could. Yeah.
So I mean that it doesn't affect me if it looks, now if they come out, and that's so what you were hitting on earlier, like the fact that these games are spread out, it gives you time to rest and recover as well. So coming off of that, being fully rested going into Baylor, even if they are still somewhat shorthanded, well, at least they'll be rested and ready to go, like you were saying. It won't bother me, especially. And I mean, if you go and Baylor comes to town and you lose by 30, because Baylor's been beating people by some
They've been doing that.
So they've been putting it
Yeah.
on some folks. So, I mean, I think that might, you might be okay. Like, what happened? Where was the breakdown? Were we just really worn out? Was it a thing where, we'd have to see and look, but I don't think that this Texas team is capable of losing by that sort of a margin. I just think that they're playing at such a high level right now that it wouldn't happen. So it would take quite a bit of a loss against Baylor for me to maybe say, what's going on here?
Yeah, and just looking at the schedule as it stands, obviously with COVID and everything, these things can
Mm-hmm.
can and will get shifted around. But like, yeah, after the Baylor game, it's a trip to Oklahoma State, who's they're not terrible, and they've got they've got some good players there. So and it's an away trip that'll always be tricky. But then at Kansas State versus TCU, two games that Texas should handle business. So yeah, I mean, kind of regardless of what happens with the Baylor game, there's an opportunity for Texas to kind of get back on the horse a little bit and get going, because after that, as the schedule stands, I know there's a couple games that need to be rescheduled. It's a trip to Oklahoma, a trip to Iowa State, West Virginia at home, Kansas at home, and then wraps up with a trip to Lubbock. And there still
And
needs to
I'll,
be a game in Waco against Baylor rescheduled. Like, that end run is just
yeah,
brutal.
the only game you don't look at there is Iowa State. The only game that you're not too you're not saying like, all right, like that's probably one that we can handle. Even we can now play our best and still win by 18, 22, whatever. Yeah, because Oklahoma State's a tournament team right now. I mean, that's not a they're
They're
this is
good.
that
They're a
deep.
good team. Yeah.
This conference is that deep right now. It's where, depending on how your schedule lines up, you're going to get tournament team, and not all like 10 seeds either. Like Texas Tech is not. What are they in the conference right now in term 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Texas Tech officially is 7th place in the conference right now,
But 10th in the
because
country, right?
they're 4-4. But yeah, so that just tells you, like, this is not. I mean, this is not a conference of a bunch of cream puffs. Like, you're playing tough opponents nearly every single night, tough tournament teams every single night. That will be tough outs
Yeah.
for higher seeded teams in the big dance. So yeah, no, it's again, how is it looking, and are they quitting on it? Because that's what we've seen in the past from these Texas teams, and I think I've moved past the point of waiting for that team to return, because I don't think this incarnation of Texas men's basketball is a team that is going to quit on anything.
No, I agree. They've passed that test for me. I just there's some it's a kind of creeping adversity that's happening because of the way that the schedule
Mm-hmm.
has been spaced out with the cancellations and postponements. And that might be a good thing. We're not talking about if Texas loses to Baylor on Tuesday, we're not talking about losing 3 out of 4 in the span of like 12 days kind of thing, where like there really is this, you can kind of dwell on these losses and not get over them, and like that carries over into the next game. I don't think that's the case with this team. I don't know if it would be anyway, like dealing with that. So no, but God, the schedule. I mean, we knew this going into the season. Like it's brutal. So I think they're going to hang tough and get it done, and finish up in that upper part of the Big 12 like they've looked so far this season. But yeah, Tuesday, that's a big one. We'll definitely have a recap of that next week, and as we start looking at the rest of that Big 12 schedule and kind of where this team, because this is a prove it kind of game.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely.
Well, man, let's move on a little bit here. What else we got today? We got a little Austin FC news this past week. We have a stadium name. It wasn't the Fleshlight Bowl or the you know what other names are we throwing around, the green lights.
Yeah, no, yeah, green light stadium at and no, it was yeah, what was Q2, Kerry? Explain to what is Q2? Who are Q2?
A local finance company or something. Honest, it's like the first I had never heard of them until the stadium name was announced this week, and now it's like, oh yeah, it's a local like finance company kind of thing. So Q2 Stadium is the name. it was, while we were holding out hope for things like, the Chewy Center or whatever kind of,
Yeah. The La Zona Rosa, whatever, like something like, put that in
yeah.
there. La Zona Rosa Plaza, which could still happen. I don't know.
It could, there's always the chance, but like, yeah, so Q2 Stadium's the name. Yeah, it's a stadium sponsorship. It's
I
I
mean,
mean,
are they going to call it the Q?
I don't know.
With
It's
that's a
there
little
was a
too
stadium
close
called
to.
that, right? I feel like
What
there was
was
like
it? Oh, was Qualcomm called the Q? Did they call that?
maybe. I feel like there was like that, or like, I don't know why I kept wanting to think. No, that was the O.co or whatever, where the Warriors played in Oakland. I feel like that was the name of a place before, like the Q, like a basketball arena or something like that. But um,
So Q Stadium was in Illinois. That's so. Anyways, yeah, I don't know, man. Oh, okay. So Cleveland's NBA arena is known as the Q. Okay, I think that's what it
that's what
was.
it was, like
Yeah,
Quicken
yeah.
Loans Arena or
Yeah, the
whatever. The
Q. All
Q.
right. So Q2, you can't really. Yeah, I guess you can't really call it the Q2, can you? But like you carry to the point, it's a stadium name. Like it's not. It is what it is. It's just like it's when you're a new franchise. It's just something that you do
Yeah,
to bring in revenue and. But yeah, it is what it is, right? Like I mean, I'm not going there because of the name on the stadium. I'm
you're
going to
not.
go there. I will not be unless that name would have been like Green Lights Stadium, man. All right,
Yeah, the Lincoln
like
Center,
no,
brought
yeah,
to you by Matthew McConaughey and his latest book, Green Lights. Get it at your local bookstore.
yeah, exactly. No,
Yeah,
I don't care. I mean, it's cool.
yeah, it's
It's the club taking another step
yeah,
and it's just what happens. It's normal to do this sort of thing, but again, it doesn't really move the needle for me too much.
yeah. I, I, I was on the fence about getting season tickets, but once they named the stadium Q2 Stadium is that's
Yeah,
what did it for
and
me.
that really,
That's what,
yeah,
yeah,
no,
I couldn't
no,
refuse.
that didn't
So,
move the needle for me, man. But that new away shirt that got released this week did. I think. What do you think about it?
I mean, I think, yeah, it's an away shirt. It's the home colors. It's gonna be the black and green striped jersey that we've repped on here. Um, so naturally, got to go with a light color to wear on the road, and nice sharp white and green shirt. I like the look. It's a clean, crisp look. Kind of surprised though on that Austin didn't go with wearing white at home, given the heat during the season. I found like to kind of go with the black and green playing at home during the season's an interesting choice, because I figured
Very.
make the other team wear dark at the heat of the summer. But
Yep. But no, it's. I was seeing that there was some kickback. Like people were hoping like it wasn't going to be another just like MLS is known for just the white. I guess and people like people
yeah,
wanted a little bit more out of it because it was just a white shirt, not a. It was just your typical white away
yeah,
kit. But it is what it is. It's a
yeah,
nice looking shirt. It looks real sharp, and I'm sure. Uh, like when they start getting into like I always look forward to like the alternate, like the third kit sort of
yeah, where they can
things
really
where
go crazy.
yeah, like really do something different, and I'm hoping that I'm hoping that they do purple, like I'm hoping that that's like the really out there, like I'm hoping that they go totally off the off the normal line of thinking there and just do something crazy. But they've done fine so far for me, and I'm excited just that the club is getting to the point now where we know what they're going to wear when they're on the pitch, and then it's getting closer and closer to actually seeing games now, which is exciting.
It is, yeah. And I mean, if the league holds up to the schedule, I know they're having like a labor dispute thing between the players union and the owners, which classic North American sports thing that happens in all the leagues every few years, but I think they're going to get it done. It's just working out pandemic money and all those kinds of things that have been disrupted. But preseason is scheduled to start in February for Austin FC. Players are already arriving in town and they're getting it going. So we're going to have a lot of that discussion as it gets closer to the season. And here probably in the next couple weeks, we're going to have an actual schedule to look at, which will be pretty exciting. Pretty exciting. So yeah, that's moving along. Yeah. What else you got, Jay? What else we got going on this week?
Just Arsenal, are looking like, even in the loss, it's the same thing. And we're talking about eye contest and some of the clubs that we support. Arsenal, like even that was even though they didn't, it was a draw against Manchester United, a 0-0 draw for that matter. That's a good United club, Kerry. And I went away from that match feeling that even though Arsenal really started off this campaign slowly, and
Yeah.
they're starting to shed some of that. Their players are moving out. They're getting rid of some of that sort of locker room. I don't want to say necessarily distractions, but it could be deemed as some of that. Some players that maybe didn't want to be there, that weren't fitting in with the system that was going on with Arteta right now, and he's finally able to move some of those players out. And the young guys that are out there playing regularly now are proving their worth, and it's exciting to see. It was about as exciting, excited I guess as I could feel about a 0-0 draw.
Yeah.
Coming out of that, because that's a good United side, man. So how did you feel about that match yesterday?
Felt pretty good about it. I mean, again, this almost kind of sounds like the way we were discussing the Texas OU basketball game, where Arsenal went into yesterday's match without arguably the three best players in the club right now, and with Aubameyang, Tierney, and Saka all missing the match.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty significant, and to get on the season now, having played United their 2 times, get 4 points out of 6 off of Manchester United, who as of yesterday were sitting second in the table. And when we talk about a team that, a month and a half ago, we were talking about relegation battles,
right,
has now gone on a 7 match unbeaten run in the league, and against, and getting points against good teams. So yeah, I think Arteta's found a good balance of relying on the younger players like Emil Smith Rowe and Saka and these guys, but without leaning. The signings have suggested to not lean on them too hard. I think he's aware of the kind of pressure and stuff that can get put on these players to like kind of say, hey, save our season kind of thing. I don't think he's pushing it to that point.
Yeah, and his experience at Arsenal as a player, that's why it's so key. He's been one of those guys that people told him that at one point, like, hey man, come on, let's go. And he felt that pressure, and he was always a guy that came through it and usually did come out on the better end of things. But so he can translate that to the younger players in the club, Kerry. It's a great point to make right there, because it's so important with the confidence of these young players as they continue to develop into hopefully some cornerstones for this club moving forward, is to understand that it doesn't all have to fall on them at all times, and there have to be other guys that step up and fill in when they need to, and we saw that yesterday, man. It was a good effort. It was a solid effort. I think that we have our frustrations with a guy like a Willian, who at times is you might as well be playing with 10. Like at times, it just feels like he's not there. The effort just seems guys are having to fill it, like close into his areas and make plays for him, and he's just not. It's not there right now. So I'm wondering if there's more to it than what we're seeing, but. To go back to being positive about this club, there's nobody in their last 5 that have gotten more points out of their last 5 matches, other than Man City and Leicester City, who were in the top 3 in the thing.
Yeah.
Arsenal are playing great football right now, and they're going to have a couple of those mid-table tests coming up in the next couple of matches that will really test the mettle of this team.
Yeah, and these teams above Arsenal will continue to play each other and drop points, and they're within, here we are, like I said, a month and a half ago, we were talking about relegation. Here we are talking about being really within striking range of the top 5. And, there's a lot that needs to happen there, and this team will probably go through another dip, and, it's just bound to happen. But I don't know though. They're out of the cup competitions except for the Europa League, so there really is an opportunity to really focus on getting as many points as possible, especially in February. February is going to be a crazy month.
Yes.
For that, so it's exciting. The opportunity's there, and it's going to be interesting to see if they take it. I think they're rounding into form at a pretty good time. It's been a weird league season. And so you kind of see Manchester City now kind of pulling away at the top a little bit, at least seeming like they're going to. Like they're really kind of ramping it up now and starting to put some space between them and the teams below them in the table. And, what starts to happen with a Leicester City or a United or Tottenham or Liverpool or these teams is they kind of see the league getting away from them a little bit and maybe want to start focusing on cup competitions and those things a little more. And that opens the door for Arsenal, as well as teams like West Ham and, Aston Villa and some of these other teams that maybe played above their weight a little bit as they start to fall by the wayside. Everton, a team that started really, really hot that seems to be kind of cooling off a bit and running into some adversity. So I think it's there for Arsenal, I think, and it's not out of the question to think that this team can finish in the top 5.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at Tottenham, Everton, and Villa all have 2 games in hand that are, that to catch up to Arsenal in that regard. So it's, we'll see. The Premier League is so great. It's one of the greatest leagues in the world in terms of not knowing what you're going to get from one year to the next. I feel like some of these clubs that you see, who are you? Oh yeah, Everton, who sort of really punched above their weight, and Villa, who have been a club who got back into the Premier League recently and have been really playing well organized football. And they're one of those mid-table clubs that you could see finishing 16th, 15th, or 16th, even though they're as high as they are right now. But I could see with the way that they've been playing, sort of hanging around the middle of the table. That's the next. So it's Wolves, right, and then Villa.
Yeah, it's trips to Wolves and then a trip to Villa are the next 2. And
yeah, Wolves have not been playing very good football lately in the league anyway. So you hope that you can go to Wolves and get 3 points out of that, because I think, Villa, it's just a club that seems to give Arsenal trouble even before they've been sent down.
Yep.
Villa was always a club with their sort of style of, playing long balls, sitting back and really clogging things up, playing long balls over the top, playing counterattack football. That seemed to always give Arsenal trouble, and they just seem to be a club. So you don't want to go into that match with a little bit of momentum in terms of a victory, and so we'll see how Arsenal do this week.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll see how they're continuing to close on that top 5 by next week, because you get 6 points out of that, you're in pretty good shape. But
you'll be in real good shape for sure.
Yeah, and next week we'll have a Super Bowl to talk about. So
yeah, that's something that I didn't feel like it was necessary for the whole other week until that game. We'll sort of hit on all that stuff and go break some things down about that game. Maybe talk about some cool prop bets, things like that. Your normal big game. Are we allowed to say Super Bowl on the show? I guess we're not. I guess we could say it, hope they don't ding us. They're always listening anyway, Kerry. Anytime you say Super Bowl, they
don't know
the
that
money.
we're talking about football, though.
Oh, okay. There is the Super Bowl. There is that one thing in Austin where they have the Super Bowl of hunger, where it's SOUPERPER. Did I spell that right? Goodness gracious.
We could be talking about cereal.
Another cup of coffee. Yeah. Well, either way, we got a big game to talk about next week, and we'll break some stuff down and really get into that. So yeah, but that's a good show, man. Anything else you wanted to hit on this week? I think
No,
to wrap it up
I think we're good. Yeah, man, this has been a good one. We'll see how the quarterback carousel continues to turn, and yeah, it's gonna be an interesting week, especially as the media and all the NFL types get together to start, for big game week, brought to you by, the NFL Super Bowl trademark committee. As they all start to get together and owners and stuff start meeting and GMs start, discussing things, I think we're gonna hear more of this quarterback action stuff over the next week. So should have plenty to talk about though. So yeah, man, This has been good.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully we have another Texas basketball game to discuss, and
yes,
and really get to talk about the direction of this team moving forward, because it's so exciting to finally have a team on campus that you feel like it's just exciting to watch, man. There's so much buzz around this right now, and hopefully they can get this Baylor game in on Tuesday, and like you were saying, go to Oklahoma State on Saturday, and we'll see if we'll record next Saturday and have an early breakdown of that matchup as well. So yeah, man, good show. Thanks for listening, everybody. We appreciate you guys. As always, don't forget to tell everybody about the Bacon and Egg Show. Tell the guy, your mailman. And, I'm sure he has YouTube.
Leave him a little sticky note on the mailbox and just say,
yeah,
have the link, like, go to this website.
Why not?
Don't, just mysterious, put the YouTube link on there and just put click, like, and subscribe.
Do it. Why not?
That's our marketing effort there. That's what I do. I just leave random sticky notes around in the public, and just, especially during a pandemic, because nobody wants to do anything more than pick up a random sticky note with a mysterious YouTube link on it.
Yeah. That sounds perfect to me. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? I'll check I'll check on the printing budget for that. Okay.
I think I have an unopened pack of some Post-it notes here. Yeah.
Let me check for the printing budget. I'm looking for it. Is it under here? No, I don't know.
Where the printing budget. Go check the cushions in the couch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, look, a Bitcoin.
Well, if you come across one of those, if you find a Bitcoin under your couch, if you find cryptocurrency, never mind. I was going to say there's something else going on that we need to discuss. But
crazy times we're living in, man. You never know.
I never thought we would end the show on cryptocurrency, but let's do it right now. Let's just.
Yeah, next week we're gonna have special guest Joe Rogan on to discuss cryptocurrency, and
it's gonna be great. Yeah,
we're efforting Elon Musk too. We're gonna try to get that going. We're Austin's latest residents. We're trying to get that.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have heard, but but he's moving to town, and we may have to have him on the show to really get his name out there. Because I don't know, really help him publicize what's going on, because he seems like he needs a boost here. He's not doing well enough right now.
Yeah, is Elon on the Del Valley Chamber of Commerce yet? Like, is he?
He may have to. He may need to join and do some networking events over there or something like that.
He should.
Yeah, maybe we can get him down here to the Buda Area Chamber of Commerce. It is the Buda Area Chamber of Commerce. Maybe we could get him to hop on and do that.
See?
Why not?
Stars are aligning.
Exactly. It's all a thing here. Let's do it.
All right. Well, all right. Next week's show, Super Bowl preview with Joe Rogan. So
yeah. Tune in, everybody.
Tune in as we talk crypto and how it relates to prop bets. Oh, Jesus. All right. We'll leave that there.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thanks
Later.
for listening. Peace.
ATX represent. Fatal, baby.
Falling on 6 on a Saturday.